are listening to Packers Talk Radio Network.
PackersTalk.com. Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or non-profit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Cards.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.
This intro and I still can't figure it out. Hey, it's Out of the Pocket. You know, one of these years we'll actually figure out the darn intro. I'm Kelly. Joining me tonight are the other fabulous ladies of the International House of Pocket, Annie and Colleen. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Jay gave me either the lamest or the most awesome excuse not to be on the podcast tonight. He's like, I'm sciencing. I'm like, oh, okay, for the better of humanity, Jay is sciencing, blah, blah, blah. Whatever his excuse is, he's not here. He's working on a manuscript for publication or something. Whatever, Jay.
We miss your teeth on the end.
So while he's sciencing, I guess we will be the Hot Mess Express. And before we go, I want to give a big shout out to the Titletown Sound Off Nerds who let me invade their show. I guess they're already threatening to delete me again. So obviously the love lasted very, very short period of time, but thank you boys for letting me come on your show. So, isn't Victory Monday so much better than Misery Monday, ladies?
Especially in Minneapolis. Hello.
Yeah.
Right?
Trust me. My day has been fabulous. So have you been like in turbo troll mode all day long going, hey, knock, knock, who's there? The Vikings lost.
Basically, any Vikings fans I saw, I just like smirked at them and punched them in the arm because and it's not really a thing that I do. Like, I don't usually go, your team sucks. But they gave me crap, like, all week last week. The Vikings are terrible. They lost all the games, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I know. I mean, we're going to beat them at home and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, okay. And then we win. And so instead of saying words, I just was like, punch them in the shoulder and smile at them. And they're like, shut up. It's been a great day.
Yeah, one of our tweets was saying, because she lives in Minneapolis now, and she was saying that last week after the Lions beat the Packers, her work meeting phone calls would be, they kept playing that stupid frickin' horn. I hate that horn. And today they had a conference call, and there was no horn. There were crickets.
So, last night they were down by 17 points, and they were still blowing that dumb horn.
Oh,
really?
That horn. Oh, that horn. I heard it. I have been in the Metrodome, and I've never heard the horn as much as I heard the horn last night. That thing means...
Just wait till the new stadium. It's going to be like a glass case of horn.
Horrible. Nobody likes the horn.
They don't.
Well, at least it isn't like the Chicago Bears that play Bear Down Chicago Bears. Bear Down Chicago Bears. It's like, are you having a poop or are you celebrating a touchdown? I'm not really certain.
Oh, yeah. It's a great day.
So of course, one of the Italian listeners tweeters extraordinaire asked last night, like, I want to go talk smack. Where should we go? And I'm like, go to the Daily Norseman because my husband recommends it for a steaming dose of Schadenfreude. Because the funny thing is, Rob, who doesn't really follow the internet or anything for football, happens to know each site to go to for the NFC North when we spanked them, and he's like, I'm going to go watch now. And you can hear me the other end, giggling like a little kid going,
I don't know what it would have been better to listen to yesterday, actually, Chicago Sports Radio or Minneapolis Sports Radio, even though just because.
So speaking of Chicago Sports,
last night driving home from my brother's, I was listening to the radio. Instead of listening to the football game, I just put on the post game show, the local post game show. And the meltdowns, you guys, you can't.
Epic!
It was glorious. And then this morning, listening to Paul Allen. Oh God, it just made my whole day.
Well, let me throw in my 2 cents about Chicago Sports Radio. Last year, after we beat them 55 to whatever, that evening game, my husband's like, fine, you drive, and he slept all the way home. I'm like, great, I'm driving. Well, anyway, one of the AM stations you get in the middle of the state of Wisconsin is the Chicago Sports Talk out of, was it the Fan or something out of Chicago?
Yep.
And you would think that they were just eating each other's young. It was just delightfully horrible. They're like, the Bears, they're over, they suck. The Bears, they suck. And it was just different permutations of it, how horrible their team was the entire ride home. It was awesome.
Yes, I frequent their website often after a Bears loss. Despite it doesn't matter who they're playing, just because they truly are cannibalistic. So
if you want some wonderful Schadenfreude if the Packers win this coming Thursday, and of course they will, hopefully. I'm not calling any shots because the last time I've had to predict a Chicago Bears game, Aaron Rodgers broke his clavicle. So I'll just say hopefully if. A good site to visit is WindyCityGridiron.com because it is all in it. It's a forum that is just a great big disaster. So I want to go around the horn and talk about our initial impressions of the game. So you weren't there, were you, Annie? No.
Yeah. No, maybe. I wasn't. I was at home.
Okay. So we all have to watch it on the television. So Annie, since you were the closest to the reasonable facsimile of the Hump Dome, what were your impressions of the game initially?
Well, I will just tell you, my brother and I almost sat there in silence until the game started because we were just so ah. And then it starts. And, of course, it starts with, 4,000 field goals. And, we can't finish any drives. And I'm like, here we go again. The receivers are out of sync with Aaron. He's missing some passes. There were some sparks during, the first quarter or whatever, but not, no finishing the drive other than Mason being a complete rock star. And so I'm going, oh man, here we go, and then they're going to score these touchdowns, and then Kyle Rudolph scores, and I'm like, this is not happening. I can't do this. I'm calling in sick tomorrow. It's happening. And then all of a sudden things just started to click. The defense was like, nope. They gave up some bigger things, some of those longer passes, and it's what is happening? But then they would sack Teddy Bridgewater for freaking 15-yard losses, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you're going to give up some stuff from time to time, I can totally handle these massive sacks because that offensive line for the Vikings is just horrid. And I mean, in the end, the offense was actually able to come through, and even though there were still some off passes and some clear being out of sync and then some real dropsies. I mean, everybody, Randall Cobb in particular, what on earth? But anyway, in the end, we won, and we won significantly. So even though we were having our struggles, it seems like we've really started to kind of right the ship here a little bit.
All right. Save some of those talking points for later because you're giving me a big summary. I said initial impressions. All right, Colleen, your take on the game.
I took it in a slightly different way. First of all, I absolutely thought the Packers were going to lose. I might get called effing negative by Corey Banky this week on transplants, which has happened before, by the way. And if so, that's fine because I
wear it like a badge of honor. Then
I do. I truly wear it like a badge of honor. I really thought they'd lose, and it wasn't so much that I didn't think they could win. It's just they have been in such disarray, and let's face it, the Vikings haven't played badly at all, and were in fact in the lead of the division. So you can't just sit there and be a blissfully, oh yeah, they're always gonna win. Yeah, come on, people, let's be honest here. But you know what actually gave me a lot of hope was when Mason was hitting those field goals, because the Vikings couldn't get a whole lot going on offense. The defense was holding Adrian Peterson, which indeed they did, to 45 yards. And every time Mason hit one of those suckers right down the middle, you could see him getting more confident and the team getting more confident because you know what? Points are points. And he scored over half the points in the game.
Which is crazy.
Of which I saw none of them.
Yeah.
Good job.
So, I looked at it initially as this is going way better than I thought because Jay, the financing guy, was saying he expected it to be a blowout of epic proportions, and I actually did too. So it wasn't that, and that gave me hope, and it just kept getting better and better and better. I think they fed off the fact that they were moving the ball well enough to get Mason his chances, and Mason was hitting them, and Eddie was running well, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but then it all started to feed on each other, which is really what they need. Boy, did they need that.
Yeah, I thought I'll go on the record too. When I was on the Titletown Sound Off Nerds show last week. Hello, nerds. I know you're listening. No, they are the nerds. I say it with the most utmost respect and love.
No, I love those guys.
Oh yeah, they're my nerds. I forget the score I picked, but I'm like, it's going to be a little lopsided. It's going to be a little ugly, and we're going to have 4 losses, and we're going to totally tailspin. And if you thought the fandom was a cesspool last week, just wait till this week. Thank God I am wrong, because I have not seen everyone so down and ugly in like ever, honestly. We talk about the Bears fans eating their own young. I think we were getting to that level last week, so I think Colleen's onto something. I think the more points they scored, the more confidence they got. The defense really, really picked it up. We'll talk about offense in just a little bit when I throw some things around the horn coming up in a few minutes. But the offense wasn't spectacular, but it didn't stink either. So I think they needed that moral victory more than anybody. I think they have their confidence has been renewed because they were happy, they were exuberant that they won, and everything seems a little more right with the world today, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. So let's start talking about the offense. Like I said, I don't think they were perfect. They weren't like they were the first couple of games. They certainly weren't as dominant as they were last year, winning by huge margins. But what did they win by? 17 points. That's a pretty good margin. So, Colleen, your impression and your first takes of the offense in particular.
Rodgers still looked uncomfortable. He seemed to settle into a groove to a certain extent, but there is something going on. I want to take David Bakhtiari, and I want to string him up by his little man bun, because if he gets one more penalty, I'm going to kill him. Single-handedly, like in Thanksgiving, I will go down on the field and I will kick his ass.
Can we rant about the man bun? Oh my God, I hate them.
I don't like them either. But if they win, it's okay.
Okay, Dulks comes in and goes, "What's wrong with the man bun? I wear one." I'm like, they're fine, I guess.
So there's one acceptable person on this planet who can wear the man bun, and that is Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth is the only one, and that's it.
That's because he's Thor. That's why.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's the only exception.
Clay, it's like a marginal man bun. It's like, don't.
Oh.
Because when you wear your hair like my 11-year-old daughter, it's all I see is your hair. We're wearing it like Maddie. So stop. Stop.
Yeah, I just really, I don't know what's going on with Rodgers. I think it's a combination of things. I loved that, probably you guys don't follow Brad Paisley on Twitter, but I do. And he thanked Olivia Munn for her game planning after the game, which I thought was lovely.
Well, Bob Becker also blamed her for the snow.
God bless that boy.
Becker was like, "Shall we blame you for the snow?" And I guess she favored it. Of course, I had to answer Becker. I'm like, incorrect, Bob. It was actually Aaron's fault. Please keep up with the time.
Yeah, but it's still something going on with Rodgers, and I don't think it's just that his bad shoulder's off. He's uncomfortable with the offense he has in front of him, whether that's play calling, whether that's the players that are in place, but he did seem to get more comfortable as the game went on. Eddie Lacy might have a bad ankle, but he was not portly. He was fat. PHAT, people. PHAT. And I think that made a big difference, too. And James Jones has a hoodie who has a Twitter account now, which tells you something. So overall, things were much better. Much, 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 much better.
All right, Annie, your thoughts on the offense.
The offense. So what I find interesting is that when you back away slowly and look at the league as a whole, in spite of Aaron's perceived issues, he's still just really good. And I feel like you watch, like, my brother and I watch a lot of games because we've got two TVs and, like, the game mix and all this crazy stuff. And while I'm watching Aaron Rodgers perceivedly not being so Aaron Rodgers, like, I'm watching other quarterbacks play way worse. And I'm like, okay, I would like to jump all over him. Something definitely seems to be amiss, whether it's personal or whether it's, something in his shoulder or something is amiss with his ankle. I don't know. Any one of those things could throw him off just a little bit to the point where, he's going to be questionable on his throws sometimes and not quite on target. So, yeah, my hope is that he elevates himself yet again to the elite quarterback that we know he is. The receivers, they definitely improved. I felt like they were much more on the same page with Aaron than they have been in the last few weeks. I watched the biggest issue was the drops. I mean, there were some situations where Aaron was barking at James Jones in particular, and I think once at Davante Adams, where he's like, "Where are you going? That is not where that route goes." However, that seemed to be a lot less than before, but the drops were just Randall Cobb had two very uncharacteristic drops. And going, this is clutch time. This is third down. This is where Randall Cobb shines, and he's dropping balls, like left and right. And it was only twice, but they were significant. And usually he's so clutch. And then, of course, James Jones had a pretty big drop, but, that's what Jimmy John is. I mean, he drops things sometimes. We all know this from, back in 2010, or 2009, I should say. So, the receivers being what they are. But then Eddie, fun. This guy he's been blah, 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 injured and whatever, comes back and crusherates the Vikings defense. Just runs them right over. The thing that I hated, and the thing that made me go, oh, at the offense, is all those stupid delayed handoffs. Like, I don't understand. Like, I understand the theory. I understand the theory is to have the line do their thing and create this hole that might take a second or two, and then Eddie can go through the hole. But it never seems to work, and I hate it. Like, I hate it. And I also hate it when they try to swing him out. He's a bulldozer. He's not Starkey. He's a bulldozer. So when you swing him to the outside, if they have any kind of contain at all, he's done. Probably not even going to make it back to the line of scrimmage. So it's just like, just run him through the dang line and call it a day. I mean, that is where he excels. If you want to run something around the outside, just stick Starks in there. And if you put them both in there, in some, I don't know, pistol formation or whatever you call that thing, and, so they're both in there and the defense doesn't know what's going to happen, and hand it off to Starks, and Starks can go around the outside. I don't know. Those are a couple of the things that really bothered me yesterday, is like the large number of delayed handoffs. and just some of the play calling, I don't know. I still was a little unimpressed. Again, I don't want to complain about a win because it was, in the end, overall much improved over the few weeks before. But those were kind of the things I noticed. So.
I'm happy because it was a step forward instead of 2 steps back. I agree with you, Annie. I think there were some issues with play calling. One of them that came to mind was the third or fourth quarter. It was like 3rd and 1, and, they started from the pistol, so you're already starting kind of far back with a delayed handoff. And where they could have just given it to Kuhn, because that's what he's good for. And that's, the cliche, he's good for 3rd and 1. They give it to Eddie, who starts about 10 yards back, and he loses yards. It's like, ooh, that was not executed well or planned well. And they did that a couple times. It's like, okay, 3rd and a bunch of yards, let's see if Eddie can run it. But they made less mistakes. They had less penalties on offense this time. There were Bakhtiari's 2 holding calls. But, they were very, I think maybe 1 false start, if any, or none, I can't remember. There were very few yellow flags for the Packers offense, which I thought was a victory. They have to solve the drop ball. I don't know if it's Rodgers placing it in the wrong place, people running routes, probably a combination of all of the above, plus the dropsies. I think they have to solve that. It's getting better. I'm glad that Aaron doesn't give up on receivers, except for maybe Jeff Janis. But, Davante Adams had a big drop, but then he went right back to him, a few plays later, and they were back into a groove. I think they're getting more on the same page again, and I think that's really encouraging. As far as Eddie Lacy, I think we're making too much hype over his weight, honestly, and we'll talk more about Eddie in a little bit, but it was nice to see him installed back into the offensive scheme. They talk about Starks being the starter and Eddie being number 2. And honestly, that's just on paper. I think they're going to play who's a better matchup against that defense. And I think last night it was Eddie. He was definitely more productive, was punching holes, he was getting through, and he does so much better when he runs north-south. And like you said, instead of east-west, trying to swing around the outside, because that's when he gets dropped. Do they have room for improvement? Absolutely. But am I feeling better about where they are compared to last week? Most definitely. And I think, and this will lead into our next topic, and I'll throw my comments in first, then I'll throw it around the horn, is Aaron Rodgers. I asked the question in our outline I sent you guys earlier, did he get his groove back? And I think he's doing a little better. He's still not the Rodgers he was last year. And I think that was one of these lights out years you can't compare, because he truly was the MVP with really no competition. But you look at around the league, it's like you've got some guy I can't even, Brock Osweiler. Osweiler, don't cry for me, Brock Osweiler. Your name doesn't rhyme with anything. I can't sing Don't Cry for Me, Peyton Manning anymore. Okay, you look around the league, and it's a bunch of who the hell are they? You've got Brock Osweiler in Denver. Joe Flacco just blew out his knee and is out for the rest of the season. Andrew Luck dropped a kidney or something, and he's not playing. They've got somebody my age playing quarterback in Indianapolis. Philly, they benched whoever, and now it's Sanchez again. It's like, oh, look, Sanchez is going to start. Imagine that. And there's talk of bringing back Tim Tebow. Freeman, if you're listening, don't even mention his name, or I will smack you. You look at the parade of who's who, and then the 49ers, they put him on, Colin Kaepernick on IR after benching him. I think I'd take head case Aaron Rodgers over the cast of nobody any day. It was refreshing seeing him smile again. And he was fired up yesterday. He only had 2 touchdowns in the air, but he was fired up. He had his F that he was screaming after the first touchdown. I was like, oh, great, my kid can lip read him again. Not that she's never heard it before, but she's like, Mom, did he just say F yeah? I'm like, yeah, pretty much, Lauren.
No.
No, he didn't. I think my kid can pick out just about every F-bomb he drops, and it's like, okay, he's a little fired up. He's excited. He's not sucking this week. He didn't look like he was running for his life nearly as much. And it was just delightful seeing him smiling and goofing around.
It was also delightful beating you at fantasy football thanks to him. Excuse me.
Is that who I was playing you?
Blake Bortles, so
yes, you were playing me.
Oh, that's right. I was playing the quarterback my age, or actually a little younger. I was like, oh, my God, Generation X for the win. However, it's not a week in fantasy football, so someone anonymous shows up in my messages going, damn it, I hate these rules. I don't have a running back. I hate your rules. I'm like, bring it up with my brother. He created the stupid rules. Would you like it if you get to file your complaint?
Yeah, let me give you his address. It is.
Exactly. You can send the flaming bag of poo to my brother, Savannah, Georgia, blah, blah, blah. Or better yet, we should get some fantasy football people on the show to complain in person.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Rodgers is quarterback, so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I have Andrew Luck in this league too, but he's like lost a kidney, so he's not playing.
Oh.
So Annie, your take on Rodgers?
Well, I kind of talked about this already a little bit. Just first of all, the personal stuff. Okay. Are we going to talk to Mofsky here, because Olivia Munn pretty much took him to task. But
okay, let's bring it up. So since you mentioned it, let's bring it up.
All right. So I understand that it's easy fodder because she's super famous and they have a high-profile relationship. This is not TMZ. This is the NFL, and I recognize that sometimes the NFL is like TMZ. And in fact, there's a new TMZ sports show on Fox Sports 1. I'm like, really? That's just awesome. Anyway, so I'm sure that Aaron Rodgers and Olivia Munn will be just all over that. But, I understand maybe mentioning, hey, you never know when there's some potential personal issues going on. Yeah, I'm sure that can affect you. Of course it can. But at the same time, you really have to specifically name the situation that you think might be. I'm sorry. And I don't know who called his parents about it, but they need to be slapped. And so I don't know.
Actually, it doesn't sound like
crazy.
Actually, I don't think it was his parents that got called, but since I can't verify it, I think somebody else's parents was called for another story.
Oh, well,
but go on, rant away.
Oh, I feel like people just want something, gossipy to talk about, and so it's what's going to get you clicks. Duh, it's total clickbait. I mean, how many people do you think looked at Olivia Munn's tweet, specifically tagging Rob Demovsky, clicked and followed Rob Demovsky? I bet he had 500 new followers as a result of that. It's clickbait. And it kind of makes me a little crazy that we can't just talk legitimate NFL conversation or even just a general reference to possible personal issues rather than this baloney about his relationship with his girlfriend. I just think it's very silly. Regardless, do you really have to bring it up? It's just going to make him more stabby toward the media, which obviously he already is already. And he's just, I don't know. It makes me crazy. I'll stop there. I'm repeating myself at this point.
Okay, Colleen, briefly, your thought on the whole personal gate or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, sorry.
Am I here?
That's
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. For some reason, my phone totally bagged. My very brief take is that Rodgers, like any of us, is going to have up and down points in how he functions in his career. Those may or may not have to do with injuries. I know, for one, when I busted my arm, I didn't work very effectively. It hurt a lot. When you have stuff going on in your personal life, it can distract you a lot. But it's none of our business. Our business is what he does on the field. What's causing that would be the Packers' business. And if anything is going on with his personal life, I would suspect they would know it and that they would be encouraging him to find a way to deal with it. What I find offensive, and as much, you guys both know how much I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I hate them. I've always hated them. I don't like Tony Romo. But when Tony Romo was dating Jessica Simpson and she was getting blamed for him playing poorly, that was ridiculous. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And yet it's still going on. And I have respect for Rob Demovsky as a writer. I absolutely do. However, he knew exactly what he was doing when he wrote that article. He knew exactly how he was structuring it, and he knew exactly what he'd get out of it. I don't respect that at all. And that's what sports journalism has come to these days. And I think what happened this week that really bothered me a lot is that people just started focusing on whether or not that was really causing Aaron's problem instead of the fact that somebody was bringing this up or somebody was calling somebody's parents and lying to the parents to try and get a story, whether the story comes out positively or negatively. I personally am not a journalist. I have no journalistic training. I do get paid to write. I have a really good editor with really strong ethics, and he wouldn't let me get away with any of that crap. So it bothers me that these guys feel the pressure because it's not how I make my living. It bothers me these guys feel that much pressure to do things that are not ethical in order to make their living and to cover the Packers. It's not going to do them any favors with the organization either. I suspect the players are going to be a lot less likely to talk to these people. And I don't blame Olivia Munn for firing back at all. I mean, maybe it didn't do her any favors in some ways, but I would have had him too. I absolutely would have.
Okay, so my take on it. I was disappointed more than anything about that article because Rob is a good journalist, and he does stick to the facts. And what did he say? Was it really, really horrible? Not really. It was the delivery that just sucked. Because when you add a name, you're inferring blame, unfortunately. And even if he wasn't pointing the finger at Olivia, and he was trying to say, well, they seem like they're happy, it's still that inferred blame and the blame the bitch narrative that goes back years and years. Like my brother wrote about, Eve gave Adam the forbidden fruit. Pandora opened the box and unleashed hell. Yoko broke up the Beatles. It's a narrative that's old and tiresome, and whether he meant it to imply that or not, it was still the undercurrent because of her name being added to it. To his credit, I really do commend him for amending his article, trying to get the tone to change and trying to hopefully reflect what he was really trying to say. So, I commend Rob for that, and I think he's learned from it, that he probably wouldn't do something like that in the future. But really, when last week suddenly became this contest, excuse me, of who can knock down Aaron Rodgers first. There were other podcasts, just spreading gossip. People that were complaining about articles, against Rob Demovsky. People complaining about Rob Demovsky. And it suddenly, it was like, what gossip can we get on Aaron Rodgers? Can we knock him down? Again, guys, do you want Brock Osweiler, your quarterback, or do you want Aaron Rodgers? And I think it comes down to, as I personally don't care. Personal problems, we all have them. I was the worst at my job the day I miscarried, and I was still at work. Why I didn't go home is beyond me, but I was really, really crappy at my job that day. And I think we can all talk about certain times when our personal lives have crept into our professional lives. I think some of us really can find that balance between work and life and can strike a balance that's healthy. Others of us will struggle on a daily basis trying to get it to work. And I think the NFL is no different. I'm assuming the NFL has an EAP program, just like a lot of major employers, and I think it's an open invitation to everybody and anyone. And I would think of a team, like Colleen said, and Colleen, you worked in HR, so you're more familiar with this. If they're identifying a problem, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stay, a coach, a trainer, or whoever, they would say, why don't you give EAP a call, right? Because that's what HR does.
Yep.
But I'm not going to speculate because it's just an unnecessary narrative. And right now I think there's a contest to knock him down, which is really unwarranted because even during his slump, he had numbers that people would be envious of.
Mm-hmm.
So, did anyone else catch the game last night when they played the segment from Wildy where he's like, RELAX? And, of course, last year I was thinking he was about to spell ROLAIDS. just showing my age. I'm like, he's smelling Rolaids? What? No, he's smelling Rolex. And I think, but I'm kind of glad that we're starting to round the corner on this because it just got ridiculous last week. And then I also didn't like the narrative of people jumping on Olivia saying, well, you should learn as a wig how to behave. No, she doesn't have to learn how to behave and do anything. If she feels like she's being attacked, I think she has the right to defend herself. And you know, it's your problem if you have a problem with her speaking up. But again, at the end of the day, it just seemed like a lot of, you know, glorified navel gazing at each other, trying to see who could outdo each other on, you know, who could come up with the worst narrative. And quite frankly, I hope we never go there again.
Just wait until we lose like many seasons in a row, and kids, that day could be coming. Oh, I'm gonna get called out again. Sorry, I'm older than you guys.
Thing is,
I lived through the Dark Ages.
I survived the Dark Ages as a little kid. But hang on, let me find my outline. All right, so we talked about that. So let's talk about the hoodie. I know it's kind of a little sideshow, but has anyone ever seen anyone play with a hoodie before?
No.
I love the hoodie.
I love the hoodie, but okay, so I put this out there and I got varying answers. So the hoodie can be regulation, I guess, even though it looks like, I was playing a pickup game, I went to the laundromat and I had to go to the grocery store, so I just threw the jersey on before I came. That was the look it looked like.
Mike Carrera said it was legal. And in fact, I watched something he said today where he went through the whole, here's why and here's what it can be used for and here's what it can't as far as tackling and stuff like that.
So can you get pulled down by your hoodie?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, so
it's like the dreadlocks. You can be pulled down by it.
So why would you, other than he was cold, why would you wear it? It's a handle, because I always wonder, would it count as a horse collar if you grab the hoodie? I guess not.
Nope. And he absolutely said it's not a horse collar. But he was cold, and you know what? It worked. He was not cold. He played better. Maybe he was cold last week.
Don't they have
there's
in the locker room?
I mean, come on, man. There's got to be other stuff that you can wear. That's not hey, let me find this hoodie in the back of the locker room and toss it on real quick under my jersey. Of the line thermal awesomeness for this sort of thing. You could put 8 layers of that on and have less, hood sticking out. I don't know. It was, you know what? I mean,
it just looked like he was. It just looked like he was running errands, and it's like, oh damn, I guess the game's gonna start. I'm gonna put this jersey over whatever I'm wearing. However, if the mojo is in the hoodie, then I hope he wears it the rest of the season.
Exactly. Do not take off that hoodie. Don't take it off.
So yeah, I think everybody noticed the hoodie. It's like everyone's like, is he wearing a hoodie? Well, then Davante Adams said he was wearing like a fleece neck thing. It's like, okay, we've gone beyond the turtleneck to a big fleece neck warmer.
It was cold.
Yep. It wasn't that cold. Come on, people. It was chilly. Okay,
would you go down there dressed like they are and run around? No, you'd be in your nice little sweet parka that I've seen you wear, and
my blue one.
And your gloves, and you'd be very, very warm. So
and my hat.
Yeah, right. Don't.
Yeah. So, since we're still talking about the offense, my kingdom for a real tight end, I thought I would never say this, but I'm looking forward to Andrew Quarles returning.
Yeah, why? It's so silly. We used to have such great tight end play. It's just, I don't know. I'm hating it.
Perillo, I think Perillo actually has some promise, but they hardly used him this week.
Give it to the chunky kid.
He did, but you know what? He can block. He reminds me of Crab in the sense that he's a very solid. He's not ever going to be. He's not going to be that Finley. I'm sort of a wide receiver kind of guy, but I think he can block. I think he's got good hands. He runs crisp routes. Jay even said that, so it's not just me. It's somebody who actually watches film. I like that kid. I mean, I like Richard Rodgers other than he's Bubba Franks and he can't get a yard after he catches the ball.
No. He's an uninspired Bubba Franks wearing oven mitts on his hands and cinder blocks on his feet. He is fine in the red zone, but the guy is uninspired any other place.
Well, then use him in the red zone and use Perillo everywhere else. I mean, but yeah, I'll be glad. I'll be glad to see Corliss back. There's no doubt.
And whoever thought, you look at Corliss, what he did in the past, he'd be good for like 5 or 6 passes, if that. But enough passes not to be a huge impact on the offense, but enough to draw coverage away from the receivers. And if he's like, that way, and if he's the best thing they have, I'm really, really disappointed with the tight end core this year. I think, I never thought Perillo would be the great hope, but it's like, give it to the chunky kid because he's trying. Annie, anything you want to contribute to the tight end conversation?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's just going to become a non-factor. I most of the time don't pay super close attention to the blocking, so I'm not really sure how often Rodgers is doing with the blocking piece. But it seems like Aaron has a pretty good amount of time. Pretty good amount of time yesterday to make some throws. So, I mean, in the end, tight ends must be doing okay. We just don't have a premier pass catcher right now. So, of course, we know this because we're used to having a premier pass catching tight end, and we simply do not right now. So, are they probably doing their basic job? Sure. Is it kind of a bummer that we don't have that option right now in terms of? I mean, Rodgers is okay. He's not anywhere near, moderately great or great, and so it's all right. They're doing their job probably, but in the end, they're not ever going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's for sure. So. I guess, I am also looking forward to Corliss. I think it would be nice to have him back. And, as long as Aaron has time in the pocket, also the fact that I think we really, really miss the tight end right now, the pass catcher. He's only have 4 active wide receivers right now. So somebody, like when Davante was on the cart, I was like, oh my God, got the cart at the table getting checked out. I was flipping out because I'm like, what? We would only have 3 receivers and we have no decent tight ends. I mean, we have no good tight ends right now. So, yeah, that's kind of the big bummer and where you really see the glaring hole for a pass-catching tight end because we have we're so thin in the receiving core right now. So
I had hope for Kennard Backman at the beginning of the season. I even wrote about him thinking, well, he's kind of could be a diamond in the rough and be more of a Joker-type tight end, one of those hybrid, receiver-type guys like Finley was. But is he even on the active roster, or is he on the practice squad? Because he has faded into the woodwork. I don't think he's had played much of it at all.
No, I haven't seen him.
All right. So before we move on to the defense, I'd like to point out that the squirrel, actually it's a good transition before the defense, the squirrel had more rushing yards than Adrian Peterson. He was contained to just a handful, maybe 60 yards at that. I know I'm making up statistics right now. I don't remember the numbers, but it was well below 100. Yeah,
45 yards.
45 yards. So he was like the running game the Packers had last week that everyone was bitching and moaning about. We had 49 yards. We're terrible. Well, guess what? We held that child-beating monster to 45 yards, so take that.
Yeah. Boom.
So, where has this pass rush been all season? Because they were just filthy good last night. Annie,
well, I think that you have to consider the state of the Vikings offensive line. It is a hot, stinking pile of delicious mess right now. And so, while I would like to give all the credit to the pass rush, and I'm impressed with the fact that they were able to definitely take good advantage of that. No doubt about it. I mean, Mike Daniels, my goodness, that man is a beast. And so, I mean, they rocked it yesterday, and they definitely took advantage of a very bad offensive line. Had they not, I mean, they did better than I thought they would against what I already knew to be a bad offensive line. So, I mean, the fact that they just increasingly kicked butt and took advantage of that fact, I thought that was really great. I thought Don Capers dialed up some great plays. I mean, yeah, they snuck through some big ones from time to time, but, I mean, for the most part, they were on fire. So
they even had a safety blitz, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. Ha-ha came flying out of nowhere and did his best play Matthew's Predator pose afterwards. Roll Tide, little man, roll Tide. So, Colleen, your thoughts on the defense and its very aggressive pass rush yesterday?
I agree with Annie. I mean, they obviously, their offensive line was having huge problems. The Packers did make an interesting shift. Not interesting in that it hasn't happened before, but hasn't happened lately. They put Matthews in the middle, which obviously he's been playing outside linebacker a lot. He was in the middle yesterday, and I think that was because they knew that would help contain Adrian Peterson. Once you do that, then obviously Teddy's got to pass, and I will say I really like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a good, capable young quarterback. I think he's just going to get better, which scares the holy hell out of me. But that said, he had to start doing things that he didn't really feel comfortable doing, and he didn't have the protection to do it either. So that was it. And as soon as they had a beat on him, it was boom, 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 boom. And please pay Mike Daniels the money because he
pay him.
Give us the money, Lebowski.
Show him the money. Come on, Ted, do it. And not just because of this game. He has played consistently very well. He's been a good team leader. He has a lot of fire. He plays clean and well. All of these things that we all, as Packer fans, appreciate. So please pay him. But I just thought overall it was a really good team effort. I thought they did a pretty dang good job. And I thought Capers did a great job of scheming.
Yeah, I think this was a really tight game from a defensive standpoint, and I'm really impressed with Dayton Jones. I think, we were kind of whispering quietly going, I think he's having an okay season. But I think I can say it out loud now that he's having an okay season. He had 2 sacks last night, and he's not playing like the flat-footed rookie from last year. He is fast, and he's getting the job done. And I'm quite pleased. He's kind of ferocious, where then you had Mike Neal, like that, got really lucky and didn't get a personal foul for his hands up all in the quarterback's face yesterday.
True.
Yeah.
But don't criticize
really
him because he'll block you.
He's real lucky. That was not cool.
Yeah. On the other hand, did you notice how fired up Mason Crosby was when he got headbutted?
It's like, seriously, Corduroy or whatever your name is.
He was a very mad. He was a very mad young man.
Seriously, Corduroy, you're gonna. What is his name? Corduroy. Polyester.
Corduroy. Oh,
Corduroy.
He was hot.
You're headbutting a kicker.
You never see Mason Crosby totally lose his cool. I mean, he might get upset with himself about his play or whatever, but I swear I thought he was going to rush him.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of these kick returners really don't take Mason for granted because a lot of kick returners are like, please don't run towards me. I don't want to hit you. Mason will lay the hit and make you hurt. He throws his shoulder and he pretends he's a linebacker and flattens people if he has to, which I think is one of the reasons I really do like Mason Crosby. That said, I did not see a damn thing he kicked yesterday. The streak continues, and this is exactly why I'm superstitious. So anytime Colleen points out to him, thank you, Mason, you had a fabulous game on Twitter, I'm going to say, didn't see any of them. You can take me, Mason. You can take me, Mason, because it's only weird if it doesn't work.
Very true.
But Jersey Al, who's really not a Mason Crosby fan, had predicted that the Packers would win like 19-17. And when we got to the 19-point mark, I'm like, oh, Jersey Al is scarily prophetic right now. But man, Mason had one of the best games of his career. It was like there was no question these things were going to go, and he banged them in. It wasn't like last week when he kicked Ginger Wolverine's hand or whatever he did to muff it. It's like, kerboom, they all went through.
Yeah, no, he was money. That's why I call him Mason Money Crosby.
Whereas Maffei was not exactly.
Not so much. Yeah, he had a couple of decent ones, but no, yeah.
So I'm going to go hark back to our discussion on Rodgers. So if somebody said, oh, Mason Crosby's kicking for crap, it must be something going on in his personal life, doesn't that just sound absolutely ridiculous?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
Better yet.
Nobody would ever thought.
The defense sucks. Mrs. Capers must be going through menopause. Okay, if it sounds insane in that context, crap like this with the quarterbacks out is equally insane.
I said last night, Mason Crosby and his wife must be having a really great week. I mean, hello.
Time will tell, you know.
Good Lord.
Time will tell.
We've jumped the shark.
The shark.
No, but it just points out that if it sounds ridiculous in that context, it's like, oh, you know, Tim Mastey had a horrible week punting. There must be something going on at home. Okay, if it sounds insane there, Rodgers having a couple off games, like, oh, there must be something wrong with Rodgers' personal life. Yeah. I've ranted and I feel better. I just don't like speculating when they, you know, and then even if it is a factor, why is it anybody's business?
It's not, is the answer to that question.
It is not. But Mastey, was that, or did he muff it?
I don't know. I couldn't see it. I didn't watch the replay, but it kind of like that punt that kick that Mason missed last week at the end of the game against the Lions, where I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, somebody blocked it. But actually, it was just like a really terrible kick, and I'm pretty sure it was just a pretty terrible kick that also got tipped, I think is what happened.
So it was a combination. Because he did have that punt last week that went for like 15 yards, and I'm like, oh, I can kick further than that. I've done it, kicked further than that in soccer.
I saw a replay where it looked like somebody's hand hit it. I mean, it really did.
Okay.
I mean, and that's not to say that Mastey's been punting terribly well, but I kind of got irritated last night because there was a bunch of Mastey hate. And I went back and looked at the stats before I tweeted about this. He's been up and down, as punters will be, and punters have a short shelf life. But he's like 16th in his ranking this year. He was like
right
23rd.
in the middle.
And he was like 23rd last year and 25th the year before that. So he's actually, as you rank punters, he's not having a terrible year. He's not having his best year ever. I will say this until the end of time, he's better than Jeremy Capinos. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Would you rather have him back?
That is very true. But, you know, you look at that one bad. No, absolutely not. But you look at the punt that he had, but he had some really good booming punts, though, that were quite good. He pinned them underneath below the 20 a couple times yesterday. So I think he made up for it. So I guess I can't say that mad at him for very long because he did his job except for that one bad punt yesterday.
Agreed.
But now,
I agree. I think he was fine.
All right, we've got a little bit of time left, so I think we've done the victory lap for this Victory Monday enough. It is Bears week, and it's a short week, guys.
It's Bears week, and it's
Bears week.
Should we talk about Favre, too?
Oh, we'll talk about Bert. Yes, let's talk about Bert.
Just saying.
Okay,
Bert. We have to talk about Bert.
Everybody knows where I sit when it comes to Favre, but, you know, this Thursday is kind of a big deal, and I'll even acknowledge it.
It's kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
I'm still wearing my 12 jersey.
Yeah, I'll be wearing 12 as well because that's the jersey I own.
Yep.
But it sounds like
I really
am.
A
farm jersey.
I don't have a farm jersey either.
All right. I can get on board with that.
All right. So yeah. But it really does look like Bart Starr's going to make it. It sounds like he's getting the green light, which is really exciting. And it is cool that you're going to have all three in the same place. The only thing that could make it better is if Lynn Dickey would join them. And I don't know why he wasn't invited. Because he bridges the gap between the eras.
Yeah, and he was very, very good. He just wasn't lucky enough to have, a winning team.
Talent around him. But I think it's going to be. It's kind of special, I think you finally get to close the door, turn the page on that chapter that was kind of ugly. The prodigal son returns home, and you've got three great quarterbacks. They're all going to be in one place. Because I hate to say it, the next time you see these three together, they're probably going to be pallbearers for stars someday. really great that they can celebrate together. Right now, they're all alive. Because honestly, the way they were making Mark Starr sound like, it's like, he is 80 or 81. And he's
not in good health.
He's not in good health. And I really do think the next time that all three are together is when Brett and Aaron are pallbearers.
Yeah, that will be really special. I've seen Bart come out on the field in Lambeau, I think only once, and it was kind of like chills.
It's magical. It really is.
Yeah, and I don't discount. I mean, Brett Favre deserves. Let me make this perfectly clear. Brett Favre deserves to have his number retired. He deserves to go up in the ring. I don't care for the man personally, but I definitely appreciate the contributions that he made to the team. He was a lot of fun to watch. I did not buy tickets to this game knowing that it was going to be when they retired his number, so that's not why I'm going per se. I've just always wanted to see a Thanksgiving game in Lambeau, which I didn't realize there hasn't been one since 1923, ladies.
Just so you know, my mother is already having an absolute cow over this. Okay, my mom hosts Thanksgiving outside Green Bay. It's the one holiday I don't have to host. Correct.
Yep.
I don't have to cook. I just have to do dishes and stuff. So my mom has dinner on the table at 1, and then everyone's like at Turkey Coma watching football the rest of the day. And of course she's like, I can't believe you're leaving to go to the game. I'm like, Mom, the game is like 7:30. By then you're gonna be exhausted. You cooked, everything's clean. You're laying in a recliner and you're asleep or going to bed, Mom. Well, I can't believe you're taking your father to the game. I'm like, well, really? I can't.
And your mother sounds terrifying.
My mom is fine. Jay and I do make her sound about 50 times worse than she is, but I did put this out on Twitter today. I am offering cash on the barrel. If you will drive my mother around on Black Friday, because I took the day off to go to aim for sainthood to do it. But the whole day I will hear about how I'm going through the roundabouts wrong. And I wish my mother would finally watch European Vacation, because every time I drive her to the roundabout that she's losing her chiz, I'm like, look, kids, Big Ben, Houses of Parliament. And then she's like, why do you keep saying that? I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, my God, just watch the movie, seriously. Look, kids, Big Ben, Houses of Parliament.
And I am taking my mother to a game who Annie and Jay have met, but you have not, Kelly. And this is going to be interesting. The woman's never been to a professional football game in her life. The reason I'm a Packers fan is because of my father, who she divorced many years before he passed. But she really wants to go, and she's really excited. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping it'll be good.
And just a reminder to people going to the game, we're probably going to be having heightened security again, so get there early to get through security. And it's supposed to rain, but do not bring umbrellas, big bags, or anything else, because it just slows everybody else down in the rain. Yes, there's a 100% chance of rain Thursday night. I think it's supposed to be chilly but rainy and not snowy. Bring your poncho. Again, do not bring an umbrella, because it just slows everyone up.
Ponchos are awesome. Holly and I sat at Hollycrat on Twitter, in our ponchos with Ken, and had a blast at Throwback Weekend. I didn't mind at all. I was all warm in my poncho. I'm fairly certain the range added another layer of warmth. Bring your ponchos. You'll be fine. Trust me.
I'm sitting in the news section, and I'll be undercover, so I'm really happy.
Oh, lucky.
I will not. I get wet and it drips off the roof where I sit, so I get extra wet hooray. All right, so it's Bears week. Do we laugh at the Bears? I'm not going to call a score, because the last time I tried to predict the score from the Bears game, like I said, Rodgers broke a collarbone, and Colleen and I are like, we're not pointing at the stands like Babe Ruth ever again.
Oh, God, that was horrible. I will say that the Packers are going to win, confidently. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say by how much.
Yeah, the Packers will win. I believe it. I think that the Bears have their moments, and as all divisional games can be, even when one of the teams is crappy, like the Lions, for example, it can be ugly sometimes. But I truly believe that coming back and the completely electric atmosphere that will be in that stadium, with the excitement of Favre and Starr and Rodgers being there and all of the hype and the prime time. I mean, I just think that the crowd by itself is going to make Jay Cutler, lose his mind. So I'm really excited about it, and I do think that we're going to win by a fairly significant margin. I'm going to go 28-13.
She just cursed us. So, Aaron, send your medical bill.
I did not call a score when that happened.
Okay.
I did not.
Aaron, if you're out there, when you have the medical bill for whatever you break, send it to Annie. She'll pay it.
That's her fault.
Her fault, not mine. I'm going to be more superstitious. I'm not going to predict that the Packers are going to win. I'm just going to predict that the Bears are not going to win.
Hell, I like it.
It's only super. So I guess that brings us to the end of another episode of Out of the Pocket, because it is the top of the hour. Jay is off doing important scientific whatever, blah, blah, saving humanity. Science the shiz out of something. Roll the credits. I'm not saying roll tide, but I will. And it is the Iron Bowl this weekend. Roll tide. Okay. And roll. Come back, Jay. Go back, go back.
Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or nonprofit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.